From President Trump today, a new demand on the Russia investigation. He said he wants, quote, total transparency on whether an FBI informant spied on his campaign. At the same time, former intelligence chief James Clapper says that he now believes Russian meddling won Mr. Trump the White House. We'll talk to Mr. Clapper after the news summary. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo insisted today that the Trump administration will not tolerate Russian interference in the 2018 elections. He told the House Foreign Affairs Committee that there will be appropriate countermeasures, but he gave no details.
We have not been able to achieve deterrence, effective deterrence of some of these efforts of the Russians, but this administration has taken enormous efforts to push back against Russia that haven't been done in an awfully long time, either here in the United States or, frankly, from our partners who are even more threatened by Russia than we are in Europe and elsewhere.
Democrats voiced doubts about the Trump team's efforts on election interference. New York Congressman Eliot Engel said the administration is, quote, giving Russia a pass. A string of southern and border states held primaries on Tuesday, and voters made some history. Lisa Desjardins has our report.
In Georgia, an historic primary night.
Let's go get it done.
As Democrats picked Stacey Abrams, a former state house leader, as the country's first female African-American nominee for governor from either major party.
We are writing the next chapter of Georgia's future.
Abrams' strategy notably is not about the middle, it's more about the base, increasing registration and voting among minorities and the poor. Meanwhile, Georgia Republicans are moving to the right, with a runoff between two candidates pushing hard on immigration, Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle and Secretary of State Brian Kemp.
Criminal illegal aliens are spreading across the country.
I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself.
Another first last night. In Texas, Lupe Valdez became the first Latina and first openly gay person to win a party nomination for the state's governor. Overall, it was another banner night for Democratic women, including two first-time candidates winning key congressional races in Texas and one pulling off an upset in Kentucky. All three seen as potentials to take over Republican seats. The
Democrats gain power, they will try to reverse these incredible gains. These are historic gains. They will try and reverse many of them. So your vote in 2018 is every bit as important as your vote in 2016. Although I'm not sure I really believe that, but you know.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
And we'll talk to one of Tuesday's big winners, Georgia's Stacey Abrams, a little later in the program. As the 2018 campaign heats up, President Trump is calling for radical changes in foreign aid to curb illegal immigration. In Bethpage, New York today, he talked of slashing aid to countries whose citizens enter the U.S. illegally. He did not say which nations he had in mind. There is word that presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner has now obtained a permanent security clearance. That was widely reported today. Kushner is serving as senior advisor on the Middle East, but he was temporarily barred from access to secrets as his FBI background check dragged on. The president is promising a decision soon on whether the U.S.-North Korea summit takes place as planned. For now, Mr. Trump is set to meet with North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, on June 12th in Singapore. He suggested yesterday that the summit might be postponed, and he was asked about it again today.
It could happen, could very well happen, but whatever it is, we will know next week about Singapore. And if we go, I think it'll be a great thing for North Korea. Someday a date will happen. It could very well be June 12th.
Meanwhile, foreign journalists headed to North Korea's remote nuclear test site today. Pyongyang has invited them to watch as it demolishes the underground facility. The U.S. State Department says that a diplomatic staffer in China has reported what it calls abnormal sensations of sound and pressure. It happened at the U.S. consulate in the southern city of Guangzhou. The department says the symptoms were similar to a mild concussion. The same unexplained ailment affected a number of Americans in Cuba last year. On the China trade talks, President Trump said today that negotiations are, quote, moving along nicely. But he suggested the two sides need a different structure to govern trade relations. Otherwise, he said in an early morning tweet, this will be too hard to get done and to verify results. For now, the U.S. and China have suspended plans for new tariffs. A federal judge in New York ruled today that the president violates his critics' free speech rights when he bars them from his Twitter account. He was sued last July by 7 people who had been blocked from viewing the site. The U.S. Justice Department said it disagrees with the court's ruling and is considering an appeal. And on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 52 points to close at 24,886. The Nasdaq rose 47 points, and the S&P 500 added 8. Still to come on the NewsHour, I sit down with former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper after the president calls him out. New NFL penalties for kneeling during the national anthem. Why many patients can't get the cure for hepatitis C, and much more.